I think it's going.
So with spring in the air, the ice starts to melt back to the edge of the river, and this little beaver decides to come out and have a chew on some delicious fresh bark. So, I was on a little jog down by the river here in Calgary, and I ran into my buddy Chewy. He likes to chew. He's chewing away. See you later, Chewy. With the beavers busy building, I might as well build a beach box. It's very similar to a regular high banker, just twice as wide and with really low water flow. It's designed to capture that ultra fine gold. That's just for dealing with clay. So, I got this kind of castle mat on top of rough top conveyor belt. And that's just to help with the surging. You throw a shovel in, these will all kind of fill up, and then between that and the next shovel, they'll wash out a little bit. At least that's what I'm hoping. And then it's 24 inches by 5 feet of rough top conveyor belt. And then I'll have the little trap hanging out the bottom for the first few runs just to get an idea of my losses. First time setting it up here took 12 minutes. And so hopefully I can get that down, but it was pretty simple overall. You really see a point since everything in here is waterproof. I did put a little tarp over the top of it. And I just sort of walk my little mystery cart around, you know. First person prospecting for grass in my backyard and snow. Anyways, I hope to get her out to the river soon and see how she does. This is the setup. It's 24 inches wide, 5 feet long. 3/16 punch plate. I've got a little entry mat on top of vortex mat at the front. This is after 270 shovels, which I worked out to be about 1 yard. And I'm gonna do a quick cleanup. A couple other people out here today. Prospector's Point, high water. That was a great little beach box. One thing I noticed was the header box that I'm shoveling into was a little narrow, which made it awkward to shovel into. But that did do a really good job of concentrating all the water in one spot and wash the gravels really well. It did catch a little bit of gold, but Prospector's Point isn't really known for having the most gold out there. So I decided to hop in this little homemade speedboat and have a look upriver to see if I could find any better ground to dig.
So this is just upstream of Devon. With just the little 18 horse. The boat goes upriver on the GPS at about 25 miles an hour, which is a lot quicker than I was expecting. Anyways, time to go find some gold.
So I had a good day just scooting around on the river and trying to find some places to pan. But since I lived 3 hours away, it was time to settle in somewhere and find a place to camp for the night.
Well, my bed is made in the back of the Subaru Outback. Got the trailer parked up here. There's my boat with all the gear. And there's still this melting ice by the side of the river, even in May. And the all-wheel drive was necessary, but did a pretty good job of getting me through it. It's all bungeed down, and I'm gonna go head up to the spot I found earlier, see if I can get an hour or two of shoveling in before bedtime. Boat goes about 26 miles an hour upstream and about 33 miles an hour downstream. So it's right around 29 or 30 miles an hour, and then, you know, factor in the current. So it's about a 5-minute trip up to where I'm gonna be digging.
I probably should have just gone to bed, but I did get a chance to do a quick evening dig.
Well, I'm taking it slow on the way home. Got a little late. Don't really want to be hitting any hidden gravel bars in the middle of this river. Got a pretty good idea where they are, but should have packed up sooner. Everything sits on there pretty nice. Getting a little late, so it was hard to see where the gravel bars were, so I didn't go ahead and see how fast it goes with all the gear on there, but it's all fairly light. Now I'll plant the anchor for the night, and instead of putting it on the trailer, we'll see if it actually stays here. I'm gonna bury this anchor real good.
The next day was beautiful. The sun was out, and I actually had a chance to set up and move a decent amount of ground. And the ground I was moving wasn't too bad either. There was somewhere between 80 and 100 tiny little flecks of gold in every single shovel.
That is actually just foam. Thought they were icebergs.
It makes all the difference to your mining experience when you're actually able to camp out on the river. So I took this $40 tent, which is really all you need, and spent the night. When you spend a little more time at a location, you can start planning your hole out so that all of the silt and tailings go back into the hole that you've already dug as you go along.
That's all full of silt now. Basically, I take my, I think it's called an Alaskan dampener. Over this little piece of rubber here that flattens out the flow. I just pinch it over the bottom here and just make sure everything goes straight down, doesn't slosh out. Basically just roll up the rough top conveyor belt and sort of, you know, using the hose, you slosh it all out. And here's something I haven't seen before while doing a clean out. I'm not sure, sorry about my camera work here, you can see that, but right in that crack, just loaded with gold. All this black sand. Yeah. And then just sort of hose it out of the box. Yeah, it looks like I'm hoping for 2 grams this clean out. I shoveled for 2 hours. I guess we'll see what we get later. I'm done for the weekend. This is the area I was working. The hole on the left, spent about an hour digging there, and then at the end I filled it back in as best as I could. This I expanded a little bit, but it was all dug all the way up and then all the way to that corner there. And right at the corner, still full of ice. I think I did 2.5 hours, like 5 cleanouts, half an hour at a time, just testing some different things. And it's got my anchor pretty short there, just makes it nice and convenient. Just tied up the spare anchor rope, and pretty much just give it a quick rinse. And if I toss this in the side of the boat right here, that keeps the rope out of the water. And it's just a matter of pushing off, paddling away. So we've got out far enough. Just started her up. And time to say goodbye. Just gotta try to avoid the gravel bars. They're pretty hidden.
When you get back from a hard weekend of mining, the first thing you want to know is just how much gold did you get. This auto feeder just dribbles in all the concentrates into the cleanup sluice, and for the first time, I actually had some gold to show for my efforts.
The concentrates I was just running are loaded. That's just in my auto feeder. Got a little trickle of water coming in at the top. Then you can see the gold showing even on the slick plate and in the top of my sluice. Absolutely loaded.
The story ends on a miller table. It's what I use to get rid of the last of the black sands, and it leaves you with this beautiful clean pile of fine gold. Unfortunately, that was the end of boating on the North Saskatchewan River for the season. Once the spring floods are over, it's just way too shallow to run safely with a big propeller hanging off the back of your boat. I was able to take the boat out to some local lakes, spend some quality time with friends, and see some rather unique sights along the banks. Overall, I'm very pleased with how the boat worked for gold mining, but I couldn't help but dream about heading upriver in the shallows with a jet outboard hanging off the back. That's a story for next season, but for the rest of the year, it was time to head out and try to find the source of the gold. Rain or shine, when I'm outdoors, I always have a big smile on my face. So wherever life has left you at this point, if you enjoy the adventures, stick around for the end of 2014, where I find a drive-in location with hands down the best gold yet. Thanks for watching. Cheers.